Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a story of simmering jealousy, a massive political conspiracy, and a kingdom that is just teetering on the edge of collapse. And let me tell you, this is way more than just a family feud. This is a slow spiral into a plot of calculated, cold-blooded murder. Everything really kicks off with these desperate words from Queen Kunti. Just imagine that feeling, like a doe in the midst of wolves. Now, this isn't just some poetic flair. It's a genuine cry for help, and it's a cry that's about to trigger a deadly conspiracy and a divine intervention that will change absolutely everything. So, to really get a handle on Queen Kunti's situation and, who she's praying to, we need to meet two incredibly powerful new players who are just stepping onto the scene. Her divine nephews, the brothers Krishna and Balarama. Krishna's backstory is, well, it's the stuff of legends. I mean, he was born under a death sentence from a tyrant king, Kamsa, because a prophecy said he'd be the one to take him down. He miraculously escapes, grows up in exile, and then returns as a young man to fulfill that very prophecy, killing the king with his bare hands. So you see, we're not just talking about some guy. He's viewed as a divine force, someone destined for greatness. Okay, so now these two brothers are leaders of their own powerful dynasty, and they start to turn their attention to family. They're hearing that their aunt, Queen Kunti, and her 5 sons, you know them as the Pandavas, are in some serious trouble over in the city of Hastinapura. And this family connection, it's about to pull them right into the heart of the Kuru court's growing mess. So Krishna starts hearing all these whispers of a really fierce rivalry, and he gets concerned. He realizes he needs some eyes and ears on the ground to figure out what's really going on. So he sends his trusted advisor, a man named Akrura, on a critical fact-finding mission to the capital to figure out just how bad things are. And wow, what Akrura finds is so much worse than they'd even imagined. He meets with Queen Kunti, who is completely distraught, and she just spills everything, confessing her deepest fears. Her sons, the Pandavas, are living under this constant threat from their own cousins, the Kauravas, who absolutely cannot stand how popular and skilled they are. And this right here, this moment, it reveals just how desperate Kunti truly is. Her tearful plea to Akrura shows she has totally lost faith in any kind of justice at court. She sees her nephew Krishna not just as a relative, but as her one and only hope for salvation. Before he leaves, Akrura decides to go straight to the top. He confronts the blind king, Dhritarashtra, who is ultimately the man responsible for the moral state of the whole kingdom. And Akrura does not mince words. He lays out the clear moral path, reminding the king, hey, the Pandavas are the rightful heirs, and your blatant favoritism is poisoning everything. So, Akrura basically presents the king with a choice: righteousness or ruin. But Dhritarashtra's response? Well, this is where we see the deep, fatal weakness that is going to ultimately doom his entire family line. The choice laid out for the king couldn't be more stark, right? It's the path of justice versus the path of his own personal desires. Akrura's advice is really a warning. Follow the moral law and secure your kingdom, or ignore it and basically invite disaster. And right here, this is the tragedy of the king. He listens. He understands what Akrura is saying. He even calls the advice immortal nectar. But then he makes this absolutely shattering admission. He knows what the right thing to do is, but he's completely powerless to actually do it. The advice it won't stick. So what's his excuse? Instead of taking any kind of responsibility, Dhritarashtra just deflects. First, he blames his overwhelming, blinding love for his own son, Duryodhana. Then he makes this final, fateful argument: it's all just destiny. He's basically claiming his hands are tied, that some force greater than him is in control. Now, despite his weakness, the king can't just ignore the public. The people are openly talking about making the eldest Pandava, the virtuous Yudhishthira, their ruler. So, fearing a revolt, the king makes a political move and installs Yudhishthira as Prince Regent. But this move, which was meant to keep the peace, only pours gasoline on the fire of his son's hatred. Making his cousin Prince Regent sends Duryodhana into an absolute rage. For him, this is the final straw. The conflict is no longer just a bitter rivalry. It is now shifted into a sinister, deadly conspiracy. Inside Duryodhana's inner circle, a really fascinating moral debate breaks out.
On one side, you've got the noble warrior Karna, who argues for honorable combat. Let's settle this on the battlefield, man to man. But on the other side is the cunning strategist Shakuni, who argues for something much, much darker.
Shakuni is a total pragmatist. He basically tells Duryodhana that honor is a luxury they just can't afford. He brings up Bhima's insane, superhuman strength and all of their embarrassing past military failures. He insists that open combat isn't brave, it's just plain suicide. Deceit, he argues, isn't cowardice. In their case, it's the only path to victory against a superior enemy.
So, they settle on this cold, calculated plan. This is not a crime of passion. This is premeditated murder, and it's designed for maximum destruction with zero accountability. The plot is simple. Lure the Pandavas away for a supposed holiday, house them in a custom-built fire trap, and then burn them alive, making the whole thing look like a tragic, unfortunate accident. With the plot all laid out, Duryodhana gets to work on its weakest link, his own father. He masterfully manipulates King Dhritarashtra, playing on every single one of his insecurities, his fear of being overthrown, his anxiety for the family line, and most of all, that deep, burning desire to see his own son on the throne. And in the end, the king breaks. He's torn between his conscience and his ambition, between his duty to his nephews and his overwhelming love for his son, and he gives his consent. The king's fatal flaw, his complete inability to deny his son anything, wins out over his morality, and he greenlights a plot to murder his own family. And this really leaves us with the central question of this whole tragedy. King Dhritarashtra saw the righteous path. He knew what it was, yet he actively chose evil. So was it just personal weakness? Was it the inescapable hand of destiny? Or was it, pure and simple, a choice? The answer to that question is where the seeds of a catastrophic war are truly sown.